Welcome everyone to the podcast today. And as you can see, if you're watching the video, I have Shannon Whaley here with me. So Shannon is a professional certified coach, certified mentor coach, and member of the International Coaching Federation. She's a business coach for women who have a story to tell and want to get paid to speak the truth. So I kind of met Shannon somehow online in one of the groups, the courses that we've taken online over the years. And then I joined her free Facebook group, which is Wild Women Rising, Build a Business While Reclaiming Your Wild. And she has over 1,600 members in her group. So I was, the free training that you're doing this week, I was just catching up last night. I watched the first one. And when I was doing that, I saw again the about description of that Facebook page. And I was reading, I'm like, yes. So I wanted to read just a few sentences from that, just to give people an idea of who you are and what you do as well. So in the Facebook group, this is what she says: chances are if you're here, it's because you follow the rules in life. And my listeners know about my story as well. Earlier on, you follow the rules. As you said, did all of the things you're supposed to do, and you found yourself unhappy, unfulfilled, feeling like you still weren't living out your dreams and your purpose. I'm like, yes, that's right. Then further along, you're ready to take up space, to live unapologetically. That's what I talk about, living true to you, to boldly and bravely tell your story, and to do life and business your way. That's the thing, on your terms. I love it. So I like this sentence as well. You're ready to break free from the good girl conditioning that you were raised with, ready to break the social contracts that are holding you hostage so you can live the bold and outrageous life that has been calling you forward. I love it all.
So it's so funny when you read the copy back to me, I'm like, oh, that's so good.
Yeah, right? I love it. You're a coach, and this is what you're coaching around. So tell us, how did you get to kind of, what's your life story so far to kind of make you think about things, in that copy about what you're doing and why you see things that way, and then what brought you to being the coach that you are today?
Okay, I'll
probably
try
a
to
long story, but that's okay.
Okay.
I like the long story.
Okay. So I did all of the things, right? So by the time I was 21, I had graduated college with a degree in psychology and a minor in feminist studies. I had been working in social services. I had been a domestic violence counselor. I was on track to go to grad school. I was going to get my doctorate and be a professor, or I hadn't really thought past the degree, but I knew I wanted to I was going to get a PsyD. I got married at 21. We had a house, the dogs, the cats, and I was like, this is not what it was cracked up. It was not sold as this. And, I got married young. I was 21. And by the time I was 23, I was like, this isn't, there were problems in the marriage, and I looked at my career. So I was also working. So I had graduated from college. I had moved to Seattle, and then went back to school to get a different certificate. And then I became a chemical dependency professional and, a substance abuse counselor. And so I was working my way up in the field and in this agency. And it was pointed out to me that I was getting at the cap of where I was going to be, job wise, income wise at 20, I was 23 and I was like, this is it. And unless I wanted to take on an administrator role, which that sounded the bureaucracy of nonprofits and all of that, did not sound appealing. And in the same week I left my marriage, I quit my job, I burned it all to the ground.
Wow. So was it that's a lot of change in a week. So you must have been really in a tough situation to get to that point, were you?
I was everything was wrong. And that is kind of the pattern for me that I've had in my life, which is get to the point where I mean, historically, I try not to do this anymore, right? But when I was younger, it was like, let things get awful, horrible, burnt out, miserable. There's no way to get out of this but to just like destroy it. And then I would, like I said, like leave the marriage, quit the job, moved in with a friend. Like I was bouncing around to friends' houses for a while, until I got my first apartment. So
So were you getting a lot of like, like how friends and family can often have their say in things, and they mean well, but sometimes it's it's
yeah,
more critical than anything.
yes, and I feel like, I mean, it's just been part of my personality. Like when I get an idea, that's it, right?
Okay.
If there's like any part that I'm not sure of, then I can let those opinions and thoughts kind of, seep in. But if it's like, if I've made a decision, it's just, this is how it's going to go. And none of that matters. So this was one of those situations where it was like, surprise, like I'm getting divorced, I'm homeless, and things are changing over here. And I mean, because I'm from Southern California, so my whole family was down in Southern California, and then I was up in Seattle. So it was like, cool, big change. What am I going to do? So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So then what happened from there? Like,
yeah. So, I didn't realize it at the time. So I graduated from college in 2001, and what I'm doing now in terms of coaching is what I wanted to be doing back then, but it didn't exist really in this form. Okay. So coaching was like Tony Robbins, like leadership executive, like white collar was all that coaching was. I'm sure it existed in other forms. The internet didn't really exist back then. I mean, it kind of did, but not in at all. God, it sounds so old. I mean, it was 20 years ago, right? So I couldn't have done what I do now back then because it just wasn't available in this form. And so, as I was working in the trenches, as they say, like in social services, I was like, I want to work with people who have goals and dreams, and I want to help them live bigger and better lives. I predominantly, with the feminist studies minor, like I wanted to work with women and help women move forward and just live really bold lives. And, the social services that I was in was very like trauma, survival, let's get them and their children safe, like escaping dangerous situations. And so like that just takes a toll on your nervous system. So I fumbled, for many years. So I decided, okay, I'm going to be a hairstylist. So it was one of these, I had a really cool hairstylist. She really talked up the industry. Like it was really cool. I went to beauty school. Same thing. I went and I had my eye on the best salon in Seattle. I worked my way up and was a stylist at this salon. And again, I was like, this is awful. It was awful. So it was like 10 years later, I had literally done the same thing, got into another situation, like just same, right? So it was like, I went back to school for all of that. Like I did all the things that I was supposed to do. I had this new career. It was a very like, high-end salon. And I was miserable. Totally. So I ended up getting fired. And that was like a whole new start. And so I bounced around and did hair at my friend's salon for a bit. And then the opportunity came up to move to the Cayman Islands. So just to backtrack. So in this time, I was also working as like a cocktailer, like a VIP cocktailer in the nightclub industry. So I was in like the nightclub industry and the hair industry. And I don't know if you know this, but those are like two of the biggest like drinking, party, drug fueled industries.
Mm.
So my drug use and alcohol use just really picked up. And so in 2013, I had the opportunity to move to the Cayman Islands and start over again. So it was one of those like burn it all down.
Okay. So did you know people in the Cayman Islands? How did you come to
I knew
go there?
2 people.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went and I moved in with one of my friends. Yeah. And so all those drug and alcohol issues just came with me as they do. And, you know, because I thought I was going to start fresh and have this new lease on life. And it was basically like, if you've ever gone away on vacation to like Mexico or Hawaii or the Caribbean, right? And you're in like vacation mode where you're drinking and the nightclubs and all that. So that was life.
Oh,
like
wow.
This is my new life. And so I couldn't handle, you know, my alcohol consumption. So 6 months later, I stopped drinking, and I got sober.
What was the turning point for that?
Well,
okay. If you don't want to go into all the details, that's okay.
Blacking out in public, passing out at bus stops, just, it was time to.
Okay. And you had noticed it. Had you been thinking previously about stopping or not really?
I mean, I had been trying to quit for many years.
Okay.
And just, you know, when all of your friends are in the industry and it's really difficult and, you know, you have to change your entire life. All of your friends have to change and, yeah, literally everything that you know has to, again, be burnt to the ground and start fresh. And so I did that 6 months, like left Seattle, burned it all, moved to the island, had to just like reinvent within 6 months, like, okay, now I have this new identity where I'm not drinking. It was a lot. It was a lot.
So did you stay in Cayman Islands for a while you were not drinking? Yeah.
Yeah, I was there for 4 years.
Okay.
So in that time, I had a lot of free time. I spent a lot of time just by myself on the beach. It's very much a drinking culture, you know, with all of the expats and immigrants and all of that. And everyone's in like party mode. So it was really difficult to find people to hang out with that were also sober or didn't drink to black out. And that I actually liked. Right? Like, great, you're sober. I actually, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to find people you click with.
Totally. It's a tall order. So I spent a lot of time on the beach and I was reading books and it just clicked, right? Like, this is really my opportunity to create something of my own. And it became apparent like that I'm going to have to do this myself. I'm not going to find this by working for a company or working from somebody else. Like, I realized that I was going to have to start my own thing, my own business. And lo and behold, here's coaching. And I was like, this is what I wanted to do so many years ago. And now it exists. So that's kind of how it happened was, all the epiphanies on the beach. You know, I had the clarity. I wanted a career that held me accountable, that held me to a higher standard. And then I could do exactly what I wanted to do in the beginning, which was help women live really bold, courageous, beautiful lives. So
awesome. Love it.
Here we are.
Yeah. So I think for myself as well, just kind of to frame the next question I'm going to ask, like when I kind of did the same thing, university, and, you know, and I knew I wanted to work on my own, but I wasn't quite sure how to do that. And then I got started into network marketing. And then that was just like the turning point. like opened up personal development that I wasn't really into, didn't know much about. And then I
Yeah.
saw people, oh my God, she is living the life she wants. You know, she's doing, that's what I want to do. Like, not
Mhm.
necessarily, I didn't want to do the network marketing piece. I wanted the life that they had, but I
Yeah.
didn't want to do that piece. It took me a while to figure that out. But anyway, then it just opened my eyes like, oh God, this is possible.
Mhm.
Right. So was there a turning point like that for you where you saw, like, how did you see that it was possible all of a sudden?
Yeah.
You found examples like what you wanted to
Mhm.
do?
Um, so this was like 2000, yeah, it was 2013, like it was Gabby Bernstein, Danielle Laporte,
Mm,
Ayanna Van Zant. So I was following all of these thought leaders, who, I mean, Gabby and Danielle, I think also Ayanna, started as coaches.
mm,
And then they have these big, um, platforms.
yeah.
I was like, well, that's amazing. So they got to work with people individually. They built up their skill set, and then they wrote books, and like now they're doing these things. So my whole thing has always been, if I can just find one person who's doing what I want to be doing or close to it, then I'm going to hold on for dear life that if one person can do it, then I can do it, and in my own way.
Yeah.
And so that's, those were the couple of leaders, Lisa Nichols, who else? Those were the ones that I was really paying attention to. Yeah, who just like showed me that this is possible, that this could happen. And then Danielle Laporte had a Facebook group. And, she wrote the desire map. And so I was really working on that kind of thing. And then she had her business course as well. And so that's what kind of got,
Okay.
the brain like putting things together. And then that's where I met my first client in her group. And so, yeah, things just started to really pick up from there.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So would you say that there's certain things that you still do today to kind of connect with yourself, to listen to yourself, or does it just come more naturally now than when, for example, when you were younger, right? I think when we're younger, not many of us are really that connected to ourselves.
No, not at all.
No.
In fact, I was doing like everything I could to disconnect from myself.
Mm,
Yeah.
because there were things that you didn't want to.
Yeah. I mean, I have a pretty traumatic, abusive childhood, and, events that happened, assaults and stuff when I happened as an adult. And so like I spent so many years just trying to like get out of my body and get away
Mm,
from feeling anything. And part of my, sobriety and recovery was really like, okay, it's just time to look at this shit head on. And that's been the whole like basis of my recovery, is like reconnecting with myself and,
mm,
being able, but I was finally in the place to be able to handle it,
okay.
and process that trauma. I don't think that, I was in the place when I was in my 20s. It was
Mm,
like, how can
yeah.
I get like the farthest away from these thoughts and feelings as I can?
Mm. So
So,
how did you do that? The connection with yourself and the processing. Is there any specific thing that you can like pinpoint and share with anyone who else who may be listening? Or
um, so, I mean, for me, I really started getting more um, into yoga, into fitness, into like, that's really how I got to like feel my body. So between like lifting weights and, I mean, yoga is about like the reconnection to self. Like that's the
mm,
epitome of it. Right. And
yeah.
so that was really what I used that time. I went to yoga teacher training, and that was more just for my personal development. And I used it in my early recovery to really, reconnect. And, the texts that we read and the books and that sort of thing allowed me to start thinking about things on a deeper level.
Mm,
And than the journaling. So writing out, and that the self-exploration that happens in your journal is huge.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that actually.
Okay.
So yeah, as I said, I was doing listening to Shannon's training that she's doing. She talks about journaling, and I love it. Well, love it, yes, but just not disciplined to do it. I love that, when I actually make myself sit down and do it. So I think, for for me, I've been promoting meditation a lot to my followers. So, but still, it takes discipline, right? To say, okay, I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes every day, or I'm going to journal every day. So I know you work with clients all the time on this. How do you help them stick to doing the journaling?
Yeah.
For example.
So the word that you said was discipline. And like, I think that word just makes everybody like contract.
Yes.
So the first thing is like an invitation to reframe however your brain needs to have it.
Okay.
And like get away from that discipline part. Like, when it's like, oh, you have to have a morning routine and it has to look like this and you have to do it from this time to this time. And I don't know about you, but like most people are going to be like, nope, I'm good. Like, don't tell me what to do.
That's what I've done for so many years. Say I have to do this and this and this and this every day. Like, it's like, oh my gosh. And then I don't do it because obviously, like you said, it's sucking the fun out of it. Right?
Yeah. Plus, like, I mean, I imagine that most people who are entrepreneurs are like, they have some rebel in their heart where they're also, don't want to be told what to do. And like the longer that you're an entrepreneur, it's like, no, I'm going to do things my way. You tell me to do it a certain way. So that's why, everything that I do with my clients is like, this is an invitation. If you want to take it on as is, or if you want to alter this or throw parts of this away because it doesn't feel good, then do that. The reframe that I offer, like I know for a fact, but from myself and with my clients, is that when you journal and you write out your beliefs and you explore the thoughts and the feelings that are coming up, and then you rewrite those beliefs into what you want this to look like instead, it changes things. It really does shift your mindset. And, the journaling that I'm talking about, it's not like, dear diary, today I went on a bike ride. It's really looking at like, celebrating yourself. Like, what did you do? How, what are you proud of? Then looking at your negative thoughts, like your fears and your doubts. Who am I to think that I can do this? Nobody's going to pay for my services. They would pay, they can find somebody cheaper and better. And then using the opportunity to dissect those. Cool. What do you want to be? What do you want to be true instead? Not from like a gaslight, love and light place of like, pretend like it's not there, but you can choose your thoughts. They might like feel like a knee-jerk reaction, right? Like our inner critic is going to pop up and be like, who do you think you are? Yeah. If you've already written out who you think you are, you can choose a new thought instead. And so my offer to my clients is always like, if you knew that journaling in this way is what made you more confident, helped you get hired, helped you shift your being, helped you show up as that next level coach, leader, human, would you journal every day for, 5-10 minutes? And I journaled today for like multiple hours.
Really?
And especially during my launches, which I'm in my launch right now.
Yeah.
I'm spending a good part of my morning journaling and writing because I know that that's going to help me show up differently for the rest of the day and get into that energy. So it's like, if you knew that this is what would help you sell this out, if you knew that this is what's actually going to help you get hired, because it's not the strategy. Like I could throw strategy at you, and if you don't believe that it's going to work, then your strategy is not going to work. You have to believe in it. And so that's what I always tell my clients, like, what do you want? I want a full practice. Cool. So if you knew that journaling helped you get a full practice, what's keeping you from journaling every day?
I know, right? I know. Brings me back to the motivational interviewing I used to do with my nutrition clients. Oh gosh. Yeah. So totally get that, you know, changing your beliefs, definitely changing your energy. So I'm just going to share with you and with the listeners. So this morning I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I'm interviewing Shannon today for the podcast. Because Shannon is, you know, an online mentor for me. I'm in her group. I'm loving what she's doing. And like I told her, she's had a big impact on me already, and I'm not even a paying client of hers. So I was kind of freaking out. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to put into practice what she shared on the training that I listened to last night. So I go and I'm starting to journal, but I just kind of get frozen and like there's nothing coming out, you know. It's like I'm still too much in my thoughts and in my, you know, fears and doubts. So do you have any suggestions on how to get around that?
Yeah.
Or is it just practice maybe?
Well, it is practice. And just like getting all of those out. So like writing, and so maybe your journaling is going to take more than 5 minutes because it's, you just kind of like want to empty all of the thoughts out. And, you know, sometimes, and this is like, your journaling is really where you can coach yourself. So you can start to look at it like, okay, I'm worried that I'm going to say the wrong thing on the podcast with Shannon. Okay, then what? I mean, and this is what I would do with you in a coaching session. Like, so then what? Oh, well, I would be embarrassed. Okay, then what?
Yeah. Keep going to the worst
Exactly.
case scenario. Yeah.
What, like, are you going to die? Like, is this going to, right? Like, no, we would pause, edit it out. We would laugh, be like, whoops, wrong word. Like, I didn't mean to say that. Cool. Like, but our brains goes to the worst case scenario. And so if we can let ourselves, you know, see, like, write it out, feel that, see it, experience, and then like walk ourselves through it of, okay, so like, what's the worst that could happen? And sometimes it's like, I can clean it up. I can apologize. I can, you know, restore harm. I like just won't do that thing again. Right. So if we don't kind of walk ourselves through to the end, it'll keep us in that loop.
Gotcha.
So sometimes it's a matter of like finding out a solution. Well, I'm worried that this is going to happen. Okay, well then what would you do if that happened? Oh, well, I would do X, Y, and Z. Cool. Can we close this chapter now? Like, do you need to keep worrying about this? Because you already know what you're going to do.
Love it. Yeah.
And then some of it's like, I choose not to worry about things, and like writing this out in your journal, like I decide that I'm not going to worry about things until they actually happen, because most likely it's not even going to freaking happen. And I just spent all this time worrying about it,
Exactly.
but I really know how to, you know, fix it if this were to happen.
Exactly.
And this is like, you know, all of this is done in my journal, and where I've thought like, oh, you know, these next level problems, I, you know, have to worry about this thing. And then what if this client doesn't sign or I don't get paid? I'm like, hey, so I know how I would handle it, and we can get that mess like out of our heads, and like then focus on, okay, what do we want to be focusing on instead? Like, what's this next level going to look like? And then really start using that opportunity as like a visioning exercise.
Yeah, it's great. So what's your view on affirmations?
So I
Because
feel
that's another
like,
way, sorry, just to, you know, another way just to, you know, reframe your beliefs, right?
yeah.
It's just constant repetition of a certain sentence or whatever. So
I mean, okay. So there's a difference between affirmations where it's like, I'm beautiful and everybody likes me, or I've got, you know, I have the perfect body as is, versus like, if those don't feel true, you don't feel like you have the perfect body. It's bullshit that you're just like saying over and over again. And I feel like actually that they may cause more harm because you start to feel disconnected and
Okay.
like you're lying to yourself.
Mm.
So there's a difference between affirmations and empowering beliefs. And so this is why with the journaling, it's really important to look at what are my fears and my doubts, and then rewrite those empowering beliefs into, sometimes it's what do I want to feel or experience or be instead, but that might feel too big. So then you backtrack it a little bit. Okay, what would feel like me just turning the dial a little bit? And then saying that, if you can feel like a hook where you're like, okay, that could be true. Like I remember, when I was first coaching, it's just so funny now. But when I was first coaching, it was like, oh, hit 6 figures. Like that's how you know you're a successful coach. And so like right out of the gate, I'm like, I'm a 6-figure coach. I mean, I wasn't even like a 4-figure coach. Right. And so it's just, I want to be like, you're cute. You're cute. Um, so, okay. So like that obviously did not feel true. So then what could feel true? And so then it would like scale it way back. So I make $500 a month in my coaching business this month. Or success to me means that I have one client, because you have to have one client before you get all the clients, right? So maybe what you truly desire is this 6-figure, and these are just like vanity metrics, but you desire a 6-figure business. Okay, we're going to put a pin in that and then come back to, let's scale it back to what could feel true that you can hook onto. And then that becomes your affirmation or your new belief. And you can use that over and over. And then eventually what happens is you're like, well, duh, like, of course that's going to happen. Cool. So you just stretched yourself. I mean, this is what we do in coaching. You just stretched yourself. So then what's the next one? I'm a 3-figure coach, right? Like I'm a 3-figure a month coach, which means you're making $100 up, 100 and 900, whatever. So then it's maybe I'm a 4-figure coach, and you start to stretch yourself to this goal until you get to that point where it's like, of course I'm going to be a 6-figure coach. I know it's already on the way. It's a done deal. That's just how the universe works. But this mindset now is significantly different than that mindset 6 years ago. Because it was like, is this ever going to happen? I don't know. I'm not good enough. Versus like, of course it's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So we're talking to this a lot about in business terms, because that's kind of, that's what you do. But for anyone who's listening from like my followers are not generally business people, but it's the same for everything, right? Whether it's you wanting to lose weight, you're wanting to find, the right relationship for you, changing careers, anything, right?
Hands down. Yeah.
Limiting beliefs there all day long.
Right. Well, and it could just be simple as every day I'm one day closer to meeting my perfect person.
Exactly.
And that, if your heart can hold on to that and you can grip onto that, cool, that's me true. And then what's the next belief that's bigger than that then you can step into that next belief. So it just goes, it's for all of the things.
Yeah. So the journaling will still work and everything, which is great. So everything Shannon just said about business can also apply to
absolutely
everything else. It's like the same
too. Yeah. So all of this is transferable.
Yeah.
Whatever the thing. So just insert like 6. Okay. I want like the partner and the family and the thing. Okay. That's what you're going for. Then scale that back. What can you hook onto that feels true?
Yeah.
Every bad date gets me closer to a good date.
Yes. Love it. Okay. What else? So do you have any practices to like that you do consciously, like on purpose, to help you connect to yourself? I mean, other than the journaling, or is it just happening naturally?
I mean, part of it, well, now that the weather is better, I've been going on bike rides, which is like the weirdest thing ever. I'm a total gym rat, but the gym's been closed here in Italy for like a year now since the whole pandemic hit. So I've had to like home gym, and then we moved to where, to the beach so I can go on bike rides. So for me, that's been like, for me, moving my body in the form of bike rides where, I mean, I'm in Tuscany, so it's gorgeous with the rolling hills and all of that, right? So that's really just where I've been able to get out of my head, enjoy the scenery. So that's my thing. But I do have practices too. It's like between like taking baths and like even the small things like the lotion that I'm using, or burning candles while I'm working. So just to insert like enjoyable things throughout the day. So I'm not just like go, because I'm one of those people that I could just sit in front of my computer, like, please bring me food here. I'm gonna work and I'm gonna eat and I'll go to bed, tomorrow at like 3:00 in the morning. Like, so I have to take pockets of time to, reconnect, leave the house.
Totally relate to
that sort of thing. So my time to reconnect is the journaling and moving my body in some way.
Awesome. I totally connect with that, what you're saying. Like, I'm someone also who's very, I was just kind of working on this limiting belief that work and pleasure can't go together. Work is work. You have to be serious.
Yep.
And pleasure's, it's on its own time.
Right. Do it on the weekend after I've worked really hard. Yeah. I mean, this is my jam. This is what I teach.
Yeah, I know. Love it. So I shared on like just the previous podcast, episode number 19. It was a solo episode, and I was just framing up, I have like 18 women who are, interested in coming on the podcast. So you're starting off this series, but it's not just a series. That's kind of the plan for the rest of the podcast. And I was framing that, women who are connecting with themselves, getting to know what they like, what they want to do, and then creating this life that they want. And I was just reflecting on myself when I was in my early mid-20s. I was doing the online dating thing, and people, you always get that first question, oh, what do you like to do for fun? Or what are your hobbies? I hated that question. Like, I don't know. I'm not bored. But I had so much, trouble answering that question. And then, but now like I can answer it easily because, I've had that time to reconnect and discover myself and know who I am. So yeah, all of that. Just to ask you, what are, some things that you love to do?
Well, ride my bike. That's been a big one. I love to read, and I have friends from all over the world. So I'm usually texting one of them. Like one of my best friends lives in Mauritius. The other one is in Seattle. What else? Oh, we're going to the wakeboard park tomorrow. So yeah, we wakeboard in the summers at the lake here.
Awesome.
So that's been new. I just started last year. So
okay.
Yeah. What else?
Are you able to land any jumps?
I am. I don't land more than I do land, but I have landed jumps before.
Awesome. So when you're talking about reading, is there one, are there any specific books that you would recommend for anyone who's wanting to really connect with themselves or, just start following their own path?
Mm-hmm. The two that come to mind that I refer people to all the time are Playing Big by Tara Moore and I'm looking at them right now, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks.
Okay.
And those two really go hand in hand. But yeah, they're basically about, especially with The Big Leap, or sorry, Playing Big, how women specifically play small, self-sabotage, don't step into what's next because of, which is what we were talking about earlier with my intro, like the social contracts that we have around what it means to be a mom, a wife, a partner, a woman. Yeah, and how to really start listening to your inner mentor instead of that inner critic. So, and that's been a lot, like one of my writing programs is based on Playing Big. That work has really helped me take things to the next level.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So just as a last question, is there one big or main message that you'd like to share with everyone? You know, if you just had one thing left to leave on this earth, what would you want to say to people?
Oh, wow. Surround yourself with people who are playing a bigger game or an equally as big game as a big game, ideally both, because there's like no worse dream killer than being around people who are doing the same shit over and over again, who don't have big goals, big dreams, because it'll make you doubt yourself and doubt what, you know, you're capable of. So that's been like the biggest game changer for me, is surrounding myself with entrepreneurs and coaches and people who are either where I am or like significantly further, and just being around them. Because my dreams aren't crazy. My goals aren't crazy. Like they're not out of reach, because I literally see people doing and making the money that I want to be making and having the impact that I want to be having. So that's my biggest thing, is surround yourself with people who have other crazy harebrained ideas. They'll be like, yeah, do it. That's awesome. Versus, but what about this? But what about that? You want the people who are like, totally, how do I help you get there?
So surround yourself with the positive people, uplifting, not the ones who are maybe making you doubt yourself and worry. Awesome. No. Love it. Any last thoughts? Anything that you want to share?
No.
Awesome. So where can we all find you?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram at the Shannon Whaley, shannonwhaley.com. And then my Facebook group is Wild Woman Rising, building a business while reclaiming your wild. So those are the main spots. Yeah.
Awesome. And I'll definitely be sharing on the show notes as well on my website. So thanks so much, Shannon. Loved it.